welcome and collective. Welcome to episode one of the trauma healing series. We're going to be talking about idols and how they can cause spiritual trauma, and as well as some ideas to remove them and how to heal from them in general. And we're going to begin off by letting you all know what an idol is. An idol, by its origin, and sorry for the noises, I can't really help that, but an idol um, by its origin is from in Middle English. It's from Old French, idole, from Latin, idolum, which is image or form, used in an elastical Latin in the sense of idol. From Greek, idolion, from idois, the shape or form, the form or shape of something, and its etymology is image of a deity as an object of pagan worship, or pagans in parentheses, by the way, so of worship. But because the word pagan was here, we'll break that down too. I decided to do that, and its origin is from the late Middle English of Latin, uh, pangus, which is villager rustic, from pagus, countryside or district, and from Latin, paganus, which is also meant as civilian, becoming in Christian Latin from heathen. Um, and within the Christian Latin, you hear heathen, and the etymological of pagan is person of non-Christian or Jewish faith. So basically, all in down, you can break down. We can go down this path all day long, breaking down every one of these words. Maybe we're not going to. We can gather though that an idol is something crafted in the form of something for something of a faith, for some form of faith reason. That usually doesn't follow the traditions of Christian or Jewish traits. Well, actually, that doesn't at all. Excuse me on that. I shouldn't say sometimes doesn't, because sometimes does it comes from the opinion of certain things not being auto worship from those branches. Regardless, idols and spirituality, there's a few of them. We're going to talk about a few of them. There's a lot more than this, obviously. We're not going to break them all down, but we're going to talk about the main ones that are here. And they consist of statues, people, tarot cards, pendulums, and other divinatory devices. I am going to say this before we go on any further. I'm not saying anything is good or bad. Do not do not take it as that. Okay, if you want to sit around and argue and try and fight or be like, oh, me, that's on you, not me. Okay, go heal. Seriously. Um, if you think or feel if you think or think you feel, excuse me, that I am projecting anything like that to you, you need to dig deeper within yourself and figure out why you even harbor the energy in the first place. Because it's not coming from me, it's within you. I'm just making it visible because you're paying attention to me, as in you're looking at the light, and the light showing you what's in the darkness, which is you. You capiche? Yeah, I know I'm making sense for that. You'll pick up if you do. If you don't worry, you will in time. Um, this isn't to scare you or to make you go into a back and forth cycle with yourself. This is just to explain the nature of the words, and just to help you become close with what you really want to follow. Because a lot of people don't even know the first question to ask, because they're so used to having people tell them like, oh, do this, do that, instead of like actually thinking for themselves. Stuck in a deep slumber. That's what we call the sleep state, when you just follow someone's instructions. Well, you wouldn't do that if you were a conscious individual. You would just overstand what's going on. If you end up following instructions or following guide rules and stuff of that nature, are you really as conscious as you think you are? Why are you even following those rules? Is it because someone told you to? Or is it because something said to do it and you weren't looking into it, right? With that being said, we're going to move on. But the practice of divination itself isn't a bad thing. In fact, divination is to show you the divine's work in action, as per the word divine in ion, divinat and ion, which would be the action of divining, and ion being energy moving forward, etc., etc. In some cases, it's to fortune tell, which you shouldn't really use tarot cards to fortune tell. You know what I mean? Like, there's better ways of doing that. Regardless, if you're using however else for divinatory things like scrying or whatever, it can be used to fortune tell. And others, is to show you what's hidden. It's the whole point of divination. Divination can be help you, as it can help you see what the divine has already confirmed, what plans you're going to be going on for, or confirming certain things around you, and as well as moving forward with whatever steps you need to take. It becomes an issue when you idolize it, though. And that's whenever you use it for everything in life. When you become so codependent on the cards or the divination or something else on the physical plane to run your life rather than yourself. Now a fun part about this, when I was writing the notes right around this point, in the text, there was I was looking in between the negative space of the words, and there's a literal image of a winged being. Um, we're not gonna say winged angel. We're gonna say winged being, an ET, an unknown specimen, holding up a sword, presumably to be Michael. I would assume, but I'm not going to say if it is or not because at the end of the day, I don't even know 1,000%. Um, you can say whatever you want by saying it is, but how do you know? Because you don't even know what it looks like. You know what I mean? So don't assume. That's like the whole point of why we're doing this healing series, is to really like ground these things in. But regardless, um, to find out what divination is trying to help you in life, you need to ask yourself some questions, right? So first of all, if you are scared, because I've met a few people on this path who are a little bit scared of divination because it's like, I don't want God to say XYZ. I don't want God to think I'm not paying attention to him. Well, things are brought to you for a reason. And to get to the grounding point of these things, what brought you into divination, right? What got you into watching divination or doing divination in the first place? How often do you even need that divinatory help? Why do you think you need to use those things to help you guide yourself on the physical realm? Um, and why do you need those things to help guide you through the spiritual realm? You know, just asking yourself these questions. Um, as well as, why do you need something external like the cards or however whatever divinary practice you're doing to tell you what's happening on your mental, emotional, or physical plane? Ask yourself those questions. Don't put any pressure on the answer. Don't shame or boost yourself. Just ask so you know where you're at. Don't, as well as, don't hide behind your ego by saying, I don't need to ask myself that questions. I know God led you here. Okay, well, do you know why God? Do you know what God led you there? Or are you just assuming that you were led there because you just don't want to look into it deep because it scares you, right? You got to ask yourself those questions. Don't be ignorant. Don't be blind. That's the main point. So many people are like that. Because like, oh, God told me to do this. God told me to do that. Okay, well, cool. If God told you to jump off a building, would you do it? Like, if God told you just to kill yourself, would you do it? Like, ask yourself that question. If you go, well, I don't know, like, you have to think about it. First of all, you got to question the spirit. What spirit's telling you to do that? What God is telling you to do that? Question it. Is it the God that you follow, or is it just a God that someone has made up through history? Or is it a God that you don't even conform to that's trying to speak to you? All these things that people don't really do anymore. Like, that's the whole point of spirituality, is it's a spirit thing, and people just blindly follow spirits without even asking yourself these questions. And it's mainly because, a, people don't want to do it because it's hard or scary, and other times people just don't want to do it because they feel like, because God talked to them, that they're the privileged one, they don't need to ask those questions, whenever it's probably the main point why they're actually trying to get you to think that way, right? But doing things like that make you miss the complete point, and you just end up following orders from something that you're not even really sure about what it is, right? Ask yourself, why did God send you there? Why did God send you to those places, to these divinary issues, to these idols, or however? There's no need to be defensive, especially when you're not even being attacked. You're attacking yourself. If that question harms you, you're attacking yourself. There's a form of resistance literally inside of you that's making it so hard for you to accept that that's a question, that it's causing you to go to overload. And you're coming up with reasons like, oh, you're just this and this that, and you're just scapegoating. Overstand that. Like, there's no attacking to ask yourself a question. If you think that's asking a question to someone attacking you, that proves how unhealed you are and how you actually need to look at yourself for a minute. Like, check yourself. Oh, always check yourself. Okay, as well as understanding that divination works by confirmation. Okay, divination's not to be like, oh, this is what's going to happen. It's usually for confirmation, especially, I'll put it this way too, especially if you're on YouTube watching fucking readings. Don't I see so many people do it, and I say it all the time when I did readings, or even when I do readings. Like, discernment is such a hard tool to use because a lot of people are so brain dirtied and blind and stubborn that they don't even want to like listen. They don't even want to use their discernment. They just want to help. They just want something to gratify what they believe is going on. When again, like, a belief is a lie to yourself. Divination works by confirmation. If you haven't got the feeling or been faced with the idea of something before you get to divination, it's probably not for you. Okay, if you're watching your reading and this one thing has never happened before, right? And it's not a, it's and this is the important part. This is why you get one-on-one reading. This is why you don't just go on YouTube and type in what's going on in my life and then watching all those videos. That's not what you need to do. And a lot of people end up going down that rabbit hole, and it's not healthy at all. So overstand, like, if you're watching so many collective readings and you're like, why are so many people doing things to you? It's not so many people. It's most likely just you ending up being lost in the sea of energy. That happens to a lot of people as well. Even with people in their life stories, were like, oh, this is my life though. Is it really your life? Imagine if you stopped feeding into it then like that. Imagine if you stopped giving it so much energy, so much fear. Imagine what would happen then. All these things that people don't really think about or talk about because it's like it's the beginning baby steps. People don't want to like talk about these things, but it's time to. So we got to start doing it. I mean, there's people that do, but not in this, not where, you know what I mean? People talk about it, but just not in this little area, this little bubble. It's not a very healthy thing. But this is part of using your discernment. Knowing this will keep you from being confused and not taking everything in. Lots of times we hear words that create feelings due to the energy being transformed from the internal vibration, from the external vibrations, excuse me, into the internal vibrations. After you digest the information from the vibrations, the feeling is made. It's the same thing as if you've ever watched someone get hurt and then you squirm, like someone hits their hand with a hammer and you're like, oh my god, my hand hurts. Or like someone screams and you end up getting really fucking scared for no reason because you hear that scream. That's the exact thing that's happening when you watch a collective reading. All you're doing is hearing and seeing activities that happen in other people's lives, or maybe even within their readers' lives, and you end up getting attached to it because you are in that energy. Beware of this. It will save you a lot of time and a lot of emotional usage. Okay? Trust me on that. Many people also go towards other people, people. Other people go to a lot of other people. Excuse me on that one. Like gurus, leader. Well, don't even. I don't even. If you follow a spiritual leader, you're in a cult. If someone says I'm a spiritual leader, they're a cult. Stay away. Okay? You don't need a leader and you don't need followers. You need someone, a guide, right? That's why you go to gurus and whatever, right? But a lot of people go to them based off of how they look or how they speak. This is the fashion spiritualist that you'll find. A lot of people just have all the bracelets and are crazy, like spiritual wear. They're like, oh my god, look at me, look at them. They look so cool. Yeah, like, y'all ever hear the saying, even the devil wears Prada? There's so many people who wear all those things, and yeah, they know the meanings of them, but what does that entail? You know what I mean? Who cares that you're wearing all those crystal bracelets? What are you actually doing other than wearing them, right? And you got to look at it like that because a lot of people, it's like a doctor can wear a doctor badge, but they could be a shitty ass doctor. You know what I mean? A police officer could wear a police badge, but they could be very corrupt. All these things, right? So why would you not carry that same logic into the spiritual realm where there's spirits that are trickster spirits and will do that? Same thing as in the flesh. It's the same. It's really the same. Though it's not a bad thing. And again, you need to watch why you're attracted to that person in the first place. Energy can't lie, but energy can be manipulated by looks. Don't judge a book by its cover, but take time to read it or watch it. Lots of times, especially in the past, people have been swayed by spiritual leaders in the forms of cults, organizations, covens, and all round groups.
all due to persuasion by looks or speech. Many deaths, sexual assaults, confusion, harms, and problems by proxy have occurred to and by people who think they need a leader to show them the way of to life, God, or whatever they are gathered to live by and teach and learn. Some people lie about their spirituality, obviously, or who they are just for credibility's sake or to hide their true nature. The truth is, you don't need a leader. You need to take lead of your own life and move forward. You don't want followers, you want those to walk the path alongside you, right? It's the same thing as you're not alone, you're just not connected to yourself. And so many people go, yeah, but I don't have anyone around me. You literally have yourself. If you don't, you need to understand this one thing: the world revolves around you. You are the center point. You have to be self centered, or you're going to be very self unorganized. You're going to be all over the place with yourself because you're not centered in yourself. You see how people take the meaning? What does the word center mean? What does the word self mean? Put them together. Those two words together make a compound definition, not a compound opinion. Overstand, okay? Seriously, 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 seriously. Look at these things the way I'm saying them, because when you do, you'll start freeing yourself, okay? But those that want followers only want them from external reason, whether it's the value how they feel, so they can seem like a leader of their life, or however, so they can seem like they have shit put together. They don't. Always observe and not absorb. Pay attention to the people you watch or walk with who repeat the same thing over and over again because they are stagnant or walking in a circle. Don't allow the physical to keep you from what's actually happening spiritually. If the same message keeps coming out, pay attention to it. Is it really you that needs that message over and over again? Or is it someone else? Is it even the person who's giving that message that needs to keep hearing it over again? Pay attention to it, as it will show you what you're staying in as well as what's fueling you, right? So if this is the whole thing where I talk about every like most collective readings keep talking about, oh my god, this karmic couple keeps doing this to you. Okay, you understand a couple is just two people who got together, right? You and that and the person who's doing that reading could literally be a karmic couple. And this spell work could literally just be their words that they're speaking over your life that you're then accepting due to the energetic bond that you two have. You understand? I hope that one made a lot of sense. I know it did, and I just want y'all to be aware of that because it's it will save you so much time, and this is why I talk about it so much because people do need to hear that. People, especially in the way that the tarot scene on here is, the tarot scene on TikTok and Facebook and everything, like the online tarot community is just the same message over and over again. Want to know why? Because the internet is a gigantic egregore that's literally taking in all the information and spitting out what the most fear mongering information can be. That's why actual healers and actual good messages get no views or anything at all, and everyone who regurgitates either the same message and or violence get numbers. Notice it. Notice it, notice it, notice it. It's a thing. It's very real. And it's why so many people have this spiritual ego of, oh, I'm healed. Oh, I've done all these things. No, you haven't done a damn thing except for walk around in a circle 12 times. And now you think you're like Superman or something. Overstand this. I'm not trying to be mean, but that bubble needs to be popped so you can really see what's actually going on. Because it's not as simple as you think. It's not as grand. It's not as beautiful as you think it is. You put on the rose-colored glasses for the wrong reasons. You're not wrong or rude for leaving people or collectives that no longer serve you or that are stuck in repetition. This can lead to a false sense of being healed. So many people say, I am 100% healed, which is another way of saying, I'm not healed and I don't want to focus any more on myself, or I've gone as far as I can and I don't want to leave my comfort zone. It can also mean that I'm as healed as I want to be, and that's fine. And you can live your life however you want, but to say you're 100% anything is a lie at the end of the day, because you're not 100% everything, because that would literally mean that if you're 100% healed, you would have no issues. Nothing at all would bother you at all. Nothing. You wouldn't have any emotional response. You would be healed from all the emotions, from anything coming towards you. Your cells wouldn't be deteriorating every day because you'd be healed. You wouldn't be confounded by the boundaries of your flesh because you've been healed. Understand? That's 100% healing. But no one wants to say that or be that logical because they like the saying, they like the ring of it, they like how it rolls off the tongue because they're working with ego still. That's the fun part about it. And we're going to break it down and talk about it because no one wants to. And the ones that do want to talk about it aren't on this platform, unfortunately. So I'm the one to bring it to this platform, which is pretty fun. I can't lie, because I love talking about stuff like this. But anyway, um, every day is a healing day, and even when you are fully healed, or however you wish to put it, that doesn't mean that you're seeing all aspects of self. There are cycles that need to be broken and overstood, and unless you leave this realm, you're gonna be healing, especially if you refuse to. It's still there. Ignorance is not bliss. It's a blind spot. What does ignorance mean? A lack of education. A lack of education is bliss. So you not being educated, you not having wisdom and knowledge and being able to decipher things externally, it is a blessing, is bliss. Being rock headed and stubborn is bliss. If that is for you, go for it. All I'm saying is when you're ignorant, when you're not learning, it's a blind spot because then someone can come up behind you and smack you where it hurts. Now people can look at you as, oh, since you're, ignoring everything, since you're not wanting to learn about these things, then there's no need to teach you. Is that bliss for you? Is that, you know what I mean? You have to think about these sayings, what they're actually saying over your life. Whatever you deem to use as an idol, though, needs to be seen as such, just so you are aware and know where you're at. We all have phases to go through, so don't rush or beat yourself up. Allow this to be a guide for when you're ready to step out or for when you just need a simple checkup, okay? Um, but don't let you having idols, people that you want to follow or um well, first of all, you should really learn how to follow yourself, and we'll talk a bit about that as well. But don't allow yourself to be like, oh, but I need to watch tarot all the time. Like, you don't need to. You just want to because you don't know what else to do, because you're not paying attention to what you need to do. And you're dependent on someone else to give you the exact same messages that you can receive yourself. You're just not putting in the time, effort, work to be able to hear them due to, guess what? Ignorance, a lack of knowing, a lack of education, a lack of studying. Regardless, um, don't beat yourself up over it. It's a phase. Some people need to keep staying in that phase, and that's on them. Good luck. But the Pampers are still on for a minute, and that's perfectly fine. There's no, and that's just how all of us are. Every time we do something new, we put on the Pampers again. You know what I mean? That's not trying to insult. I'm just trying to make light of the situation. But regardless, let's jump into how we can move in life and moving away from stepping from idols, uh, and um, what could be a solution and how to move on uh, without having those things. But what a good would like be pointing out these issues without a solution. Not very good at all. That's why in any way, that's like what a lot of spiritual communities are doing right now. I'm getting tongue tied because I was reading off a script. And I'm also intervening with like certain things I feel called to talk on in between. So it's gonna be jumbled, but who cares? But a lot of times in spiritual communities, they don't talk about these things, which is why so many people stay confused. That's why so many people say like this isn't real, that's not real, because they are literally not doing any sort of work. They're just taking in things that please their ego and then walking around like they have a shiny badge on when they don't. It's important to know these things. But let's say you can't stop watching readings or getting any form of divination help. This could even be like prophecy work, however. Um, and it helps you know what's going on around you, right? But it also stresses you out due to all the characters who are in your energy and all the things that are being said. Understand that every time you watch a reading that talks about them and the mention of them
and their actions, it creates an emotion that you have to feel and have to go through, and you end up attaching themselves back to you when you do that, leaving you in this cycle where they are always in your energy, seemingly doing magic or stalking you, when in reality it's most likely them just either talking about you, reminiscing about the past by looking at old photos, or even just looking at your social media page, or people looking at old photos of you, or however, you know what I mean, looking at old messages. It's the same thing, but people don't look at it that deep. They just, oh, they're stalking you because guess what, the card that they bought, the whole deck of them that they bought had the card Stalker in it. And then that card comes out, and oh my God, they're stalking you. Are they really? Or are they just looking at things around you? Are you stalking them? Is it telling you that you're stalking them as well because you're in their energy all the time? Because you think that they're doing something to you, so then you end up energetically stalking them? Hello? Who am I talking to? Wake up. Seriously, this is how it is. And people don't want to think about it. It's deeper than you think, but so many people are so simple and blind that they would never tell you that. They don't even know where to begin. They don't even know how it happens. Every message ends the same though, with "you're protected" and "don't do this and you'll be fine." Yet these two simple phrases cause so much chaos in your energy. Ask yourself why. Step back from the energy and look at it as it is. Is it even for you? Or are you just agreeing with that energy because you can't stop thinking about that person? Are they just stuck on your mind? Are you needing to heal from them and you're just so indulged in their energy that since you're not working on the healing factor of it, you end up getting the opposite instead? Ask yourself these questions. This is a cycle that people are in, and people need to leave this cycle. What's unhealed? What activities, objects, smells, colors, locations, foods, whatever remind you of that person, and how can you detach from it? Also, how can you detach yourself from that way of thinking? Spell work is very real. We know this. But if you remember who you are and not what other people are doing, you have an upper hand. And this is the whole thing. Because even though that tiny message in the background goes, "you're protected," you end up having more questions of, so why are they doing this still? If I'm so protected, then why are they doing this? If you're so protected, why are you worried about them? If you're so protected, why do you keep involving yourself in that type of energy? Is it to test? Are you testing your protection and then something ends up happening because you keep testing your protection? Because the beings that are protecting you, the ETs, the deities, the Anunnaki that are protecting you, the Elohims that are protecting you, get irritated and then let something smack you so you can have a wake up call? Hello? Listen in. Because people don't understand this, right? They don't. You need to remember who you are. You know that you're protected and not what other people are doing. And on these readings, all they do is talk about this person's doing this person's doing that. They feel like this, they feel like that. Okay, how do you feel though? Why do you even care about how they feel? Why are you so worried about them? And I understand, like at the start, you need that for like clarification to see what's going on. But after that, why are you so involved in their lives still? Don't you have your own life to live as well? Or that you're trying to live, that you're trying to get back together? So why are you spending that time instead of bettering yourself, spending it laughing or indulging yourself in others' energies that have done you wrong? You're in the same boat as them, or as they were, and this is your back and forth karmic cycle that you have with that individual. Okay, you need to take control over your life when these things happen. Instead of watching or doing divination all the time, trust in the powers you give thanks and praises to rather than just believing it. You know, the more you move as if you are something, the more it will appear to be. And you say that you know you're protected, yet you have the consistent fear of not being protected or the constant questioning. So that's not knowing anything, that's believing. That's praising two masters. You need to pick one. You either run to the truth or you run in fear. You're either with the Most High, Allah, or you're with the devil. There is no in between. You have to pick those sides. The in between is where you're sitting there in the room deciding which way you want to go. Don't be in between. It causes stagnancy in your life, which then leads to procrastination. Meanwhile, you may not even be attacked. You might not even be receiving attacks. It could literally, and most of the time, it's sometimes just you having some form of like schizo breakdown where you believe all these things are happening around you because you keep hearing it all the time, right? And then when you hear it all the time, you end up having dreams of those people because it's bringing up that energy that needs healed. And then you think that those people are in your dreams hurting you and assaulting you, when in actuality, the dreams are trying to show you, hey, you're giving this person way too much power, and they're showing up in your dreams to really help you see all that. We and a lot of the times when we attack ourselves, we don't know how, and it's because you keep overindulging in something that's causing you conflict internally. Sometimes we just need a break from taking in information. Okay, practice grounding. Practice washing away your worries, literally washing them away, taking a bath, using salt, using lemon juice, whatever you got to do, even using soap and just washing it off. Practical mindfulness with yourself and others. Practice your way of life, also known as your religion, or where you're going again. Remember where you're going again. Practice journaling, making art, singing, playing, dancing, invoking your inner child's playful side, and running with it. Most importantly, practice gratitude. These things will help you need divination less and follow the vision of God or the Most High, Allah. Meditations on the solar plexus, heart, third eye, and root chakras will help in this situation. 30 minutes of sunlight will also help you. It will boost your mood and immune system. Watch what you eat, drink, and expose yourself to. Let yourself know that not every issue occurs due to magic, and try your best not to let spookism get to you, as well as take care of your gut because your stomach will. I did that video on that. Y'all remember? It's in my notes somewhere. My journal is literally right next to me, so I'm gonna go flip to those notes. Um, and I'll tell y'all the reading, because I'm pretty sure the video was called like the truth of the only two mental illnesses, where I was, yeah, it was, where I was talking about the stomach and how the acidic levels and stuff affect your mood. Pay attention to that. Taking in too much acid will make your moods go crazy. Taking in too much calcium will make your moods go crazy. Not getting enough sunlight will make your moods go crazy. Literally 30 minutes of sunlight, 30 minutes is all you need, and your immune system will be boosted. Your immune system also defines how well your nervous system will respond to things. Really look into these things. Your whole body is connected. If one thing's out of whack, most likely other things are too. Okay? Always, 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 always take care of yourself. Look up fruits and vegetables and herbs that you can do to calm the stomach, calm the brain, cause less inflammation within your body, less stress. Do exercises, yoga, the pelvic areas where we hold trauma, and we hold a lot of our pains in our chest and our shoulders. So doing chest exercises, pump, I think they're called wings, when you like push your shoulder blades together and then you push them, like separate them and bring them together, like doing that moves your chest cavity around and loosens that up. Phlegm and mucus, being careful of what food you eat that cause mucus, because foods do cause music. Foods cause music. Awesome. I'm glad that they cause music. foods foods cause mucus. Excuse me. So at the same time, like, just look out for all those things. Take care of your internal body so that everything that happens internally isn't as chaotic. Now, let's say that you're stuck on a codependent relationship between you and a spiritual helper, right? Look at the red flags. That's what you need to do first. Look at the red flags. What sets you off and what sets them off. Don't be afraid to speak up, especially if someone is there to help you in your life, right? Look at what they do. If they're causing you stress, if whatever their messages are doing are causing you stress, then you need to look at it and address it to yourself. You don't need to tell it to anyone else. You need to address it to yourself first so that you can figure out how to move forward. Then address it to someone else, right? Know that you're okay to block people, and know that it's okay to cancel services always. Ask yourself, why do you need to keep going back to that person? Is it because they actually do help you and that stress is just you breaking down past boundaries? Or is it because you think that they are the only one who can help you? Remember that the person, remember that the reason that you are in a codependency is because you aren't whole yourself. Part of you is being ignored. That once it's seen by whoever, it can only be seen by the person you're around. Okay, always. They allow you to feel that energy. They don't force you, they don't make you. And no one can make you do anything. Notice how I'm always going to say will allow. They will allow you to feel something. This person will allow you. You're allowing these people in. You've allowed people to do things to you. You don't. No one's making anyone do anything. They've allowed them to. Unless the episode of SpongeBob where Plankton was inside SpongeBob's brain with that controller and moving him around. That's the only way someone's going to be able to control you, right? We already have them. They're called parasites. They're up in your brain. They're in your food. The whatever's right. So be careful of that. That's why you do detoxes and stuff, fasting and stuff, right? But unless someone's up in your brain with like a computer chip, sleeper agent style, forcing you to do stuff, you're not there. They can't make you do anything. No one can make you feel an emotion. You're just allowing them to create that energetic bond between you two to create that emotion. Okay? Focus on yourself and on the energy that you already have inside of you. See what shifts your energy and see what words or feelings you receive with that spiritual helper as well. What can you give yourself from what they do? All right. Always keep in mind not to declare something as good and bad until you get all the information, so you don't go back and forth with yourself and end up confused. And I really do mean that because you'll end up being like, oh well, sometimes they do this and that makes me feel mad. Sometimes they do this and it makes me feel good. And now I can't decide if they're bad or good because I have two sides. Don't do that. Look at the whole picture. They do all those things to you. How does that make you feel? Are you able to break it down and not on the sense that where it benefits them, but on the side where it benefits you? If you're sitting there going, well, I know that they've had a hard life and that, XYZ, then that's you making an excuse for them. But if you sit there and you're like, sometimes I just don't accept the advice because I'm new here, I'm new to all of this, or it's something that's outside of my comfort zone, then that's worth you. All right. Always understand this. The way you're defining it. And always ask for help. If you do not know if a spiritual guide is good for you, you don't know like what's going on, ask for advice, ask for secondary advice always. It's not a crime to, but having a spiritual guide can be good for you as long as you can digest by what they're saying. Many don't know what or how, excuse me, to explain much because they were taught one way and they just copy paste what they were told. A true spiritual guide will have many ways to speak to you, as they have a strong understanding of what they speak on and not just a path that they follow that someone showed. This is what we call alchemy, being able to take something from one form to another. And sometimes spiritual guides will play on your emotional state to keep you bound or closer to them. I've seen a lot of people do this as well. They do this usually to keep tabs on you or to use you in some form or fashion. Watch how they speak to you. If they speak at you, as in they talk down and insult you, beware. If they explain things to you and tell you what to look up and study, beware as well. Just observe and come to your own conclusion. And as well, if you need help, asking to see if someone's a good fit for you can also be beneficial as well. Also, when having a spiritual guide, ask them questions. Allow them to guide you. Don't be afraid of asking guides a question, no matter how small you may think they are. They are there to help you. And if you don't do your part asking for help, there's not really much that can be done. This is something that I go through a lot with my one-on-one services. I always start off saying there's no dumb questions. You can ask anything, no matter what kind of help you need, no matter what it is. If you have the service, go and ask me whatever. And a lot of people always feel afraid to, and it's because of these past cycles that they're trying to break from, obviously, and that's just how it is. I observe these things and I take note of them because it's important to know where someone is, um, and not allow certain things to, you know, get not allow certain things to go unnoticed, right? Because no matter what the question is, no matter how small it seems, someone had to ask it before already. That's the only reason why it has an answer, is because someone asked a question to receive that answer. So even if it is like, I don't know, like, why do I need to burn a black candle? What's the difference between a black candle and a white candle? Someone had to ask that question. Ask it. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter where you're at. This is your ego mind battling your heart, where you're not able to actually see that the questions that you have are going to help you and inform you. And instead of doing that, you're relying on past experiences where people belittled you, called you stupid or whatever, to create these holes around you so you're not able to ask those questions anymore or ask any questions that seem simple. This could even be holding up a teacher on a pedestal, or a spiritual guide on his pedestal, saying, "Oh wow, they know so much, but I'm gonna use them to ask this silly question." Right? Who cares? It's to say, it's like you're learning Spanish, and it's like, how do I ask to go to the bathroom? Oh, but they're a Spanish teacher, so why would I even ask them to ask, how to ask how to go to the bathroom in Spanish? They're a Spanish teacher. They're here to teach us the the grander things. Well, unfortunately, for that mindset, I'll say unfortunately for that mindset, um, that question, how do I go to the bathroom, is a very important question because, well, how the fuck are you gonna know where to go if you don't if you don't know how to ask, right? So how are you gonna know what you need to do if you're not gonna ask? That's the importance of it, stepping outside that boundary zone. And this, I've heard from people as well. They've had spiritual teachers that mock them and stuff for not knowing things. That's bullshit. No one should mock anyone. Okay. And I'll no, I don't need to do that. But again, like, some people are blind, which means they're not seeing, and some people are deaf, which means they're not hearing, they're not listening, right? And that's perfectly fine, right? Because everyone has their own understanding when they need to be on an overstanding. And they're still trying to figure out the ins and outs. They're trying to figure out how to stand on top of it so that they no longer have to depend on looking under it, so they can stand on top of it and know what's truly going on. Um, but this is the episodes of the idols. The next episode, because I already have notes, we're going to be talking about leaving spiritual communities, leaving cults, covens, and things of that nature, for those that need help with that, because I know that is a situation that a lot of people are stuck in as well. I was going to add it to this video, but I decided not to because I believe it's class of its own. I was going to add it with the spiritual teachers leaving, and that's in that category, but it's a lot deeper than that. But being aware as well, and I'll say this as well, um, before we head off, being aware of what collective you're in. I mentioned that within the intro video, but know what collective you're jumping into. The word collective seems really nice and beautiful, but a collective is just a group of people who are together. So who are you teamed up with? Do you even know? Or are you just assuming? This is what you really have to pay attention to, okay? Because a lot of people, it's the same thing as like using religious titles, like, oh, I'm a Catholic or I'm Orthodox or whatever, right? It's like, what does that actually mean? And I'm not asking for an explanation for myself. I'm just asking you, what does it mean? Because if you're going to claim that title, you should know what it means to be that, right? You should know what the scripture says about that. You should know all these things. Same thing with spirituality. Oh, you say that you worship the Most High. Then what is the Most High to you? And if you don't know what the Most High is to you, that's a problem that needs to be addressed. Because who are you actually giving your energy to? Who do you believe you're giving energy to? And then take that belief, throw it in the trash can, and get some truth. Really start looking out there. Really start getting deeper within that energy because it's around you. And if you're already trying to connect with it, then it is already around you. So you need to dig in deeper and find out what you're actually connecting to, whether it's the angels that you want to connect to, whether it's God, whatever, knowing that these are just words that we use, and these words have been uh, poorly translated through generations of languages, to say the least, on purpose to keep you in a confusion cycle. So being very aware of that, just be so observant when it comes to these things. It's important because this is why so many people get lost. This is why a lot of people end up in wrong places and they're really confused because they're not where they're supposed to be. Okay, but this is the reading of reading. It is basically a reading. I read off a script, so let's go for that, sure. But this is Idols and Spiritual Trauma. Thank you all so much again. I'm glad I'm able to do this series. I'm really excited to jump into it even more. But I love each and every one of you all to the moon and back tenfold and forever. I will see you all later. All the links are going to be in the description as always as well. Thank you all so much for the kind words, the donations, the additional subjects for the series as well. I have a lot more of those down as well. Thank you all so much. Some of them slipped my mind. Some of them I was confused about, but I didn't really understand because I didn't, understand the words that were being used. I guess, but we got it settled out. But I love you all so much. To the moon and back, tenfold and forever. Thank you all so much for all the support that you give, and I will see you all later.